Welcome back to Northwest Elite Spirit, the channel you come to train your mind, body, and spirit. I'm Coach Brian. If you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, do that now. And hit the notification bell to stay up to date on all of my newest releases. This is Pacing Bigfoot 200 with Tommie Silva and Carlos Castaneda. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Bigfoot 200, it is a 200-mile endurance race put on by Destination Trail around Mount St. Helens. They have others. They have the Moab 240, and they have the Tahoe 200, and now the Monster Arizona 300. I have been helping them get prepared for their events through course marking, volunteering at headquarters, sweeping, etc. And last year I was working at Bigfoot 200 at headquarters, and my daughter was talking to a man, Tommie, and she thought that we should be introduced. And so him and I introduced ourselves, and I learned that he was volunteering last year in order to run the race this year. And practicing the lessons of Don Juan, having had an inclination that I should offer Tommie my help, I went ahead and did that. It turned out that he needed a lot more help from me than initially expected, because he had two pacers, myself and another pacer, but his other pacer got into the race, and so he needed one pacer, and that meant I needed to pick up more miles. And that was about half the race at about 94 miles, and didn't know that until the race or the event got close, but having that sprung on me was no big deal. I felt I had the energy and the ability, and I had the want, having had that inclination to help him. Now, leading up to pacing him at about the halfway mark, he came back to headquarters, and leading up to that, I made sure that I stretched and meditated and got my mind right for the task at hand. He and I haven't talked beforehand. I asked him if he preferred the carrot or the stick, or did he prefer somebody behind him pushing him, or did he prefer somebody in front of him pulling him? And he preferred someone in front of him pulling him, and so that's what I did. I made sure to stay just out of reach of him for the majority of the pacing, and this helped him make really good time and helped keep him moving forward rather than stalling out and quitting. This turned out very well, because when I paced him for running, when we got a chance to run, we beat his best times from his first lap for 2 of the miles during the second lap. While we were running, I was trying to figure out what it was that caused me to offer Tommie my help, and he was wondering too. And as we were talking and learning about one another, I learned that Tommie is a Yaqui Indian, and Don Juan was a Yaqui Indian. And though I didn't learn much about Yaqui Indians through the books that I read, this gave me the validation that this was where I was supposed to be, and this is what I was supposed to be doing. The fact that Tommie is a Yaqui Indian, as I'm learning about a Yaqui Indian sorcerer. Tommie ran well, but there were some times where he struggled. Tommie at one time became very disheartened and wanted to quit, and I told him, it's your race, you can do what you want to do, but I feel like if you get some sleep and some food at the next aid station, you might feel better. And he argued against that a little bit, but got up, and we continued on to the next aid station. It was a very hard push, short mileage, but a very hard push. He went to sleep, got something to eat, woke up feeling better, and ultimately finished the race. So during the running, when we were able to run, I was also practicing the Gait of Power. That is Don Juan's advice for running in the wild and running at night. And what you do is you lift your knees very high, you bend forward slightly at the waist, and you do the mudra. You also relax your vision. cool thing about relaxing your vision like that is, let's imagine that there's something out there behind me that you want to see. Now, if I were to focus on just looking, trying to see if there's anything behind that bush, I'd miss everything here. And then if I moved over here and focused on something in that bush, I'd miss everything over here, and I might not pick up on what I'm looking for. But if I relax my vision, I can still see everything in there. And the cool thing about that is your body will still maneuver itself around all the obstacles. So instead of me focusing on just the obstacle, say 3 feet in front of me, or what's in front of me, and only seeing that, I can relax my vision, still see everything around me. My feet will still go where they need to go, and I save that energy of being extremely focused. It's more of a relaxed focus. And again, your body will still move the way it needs to and do the things that it needs to do to keep your feet going. Picking up your feet high at night keeps you from stumbling. You might also think of it as like, if you watch in cartoons or the movies, when somebody is sneaking around, they lift their knees really high and they kind of lightly let their foot down on the ball of their foot and then relax their whole foot down. It's kind of like that, but faster. So it's that sneaky, the mechanics of being sneaky but moving very fast, and it works very well. I was practicing breathing techniques, and one of them was, so when you're in the woods and it's hot out, the sun will come down and it'll start baking like the flowers and the pine needles and whatever plants are on the ground, and bark and dirt and berries, and everything that's in the area will kind of be waft up into your nose. And for me, that was a cue to practice, kind of like a dog. And that would jazz me up. That would give me like some sort of zippiness. It would give me some sort of energy to oxygenate my muscles and my brain in that way. And catching a whiff of all those beautiful smells also like does something for your brain, or it would for mine. It would get me amped up. It would make the run more enjoyable. So I wouldn't have to intentionally practice it. It was just that when a smell came up, and it could be an odd smell too, it didn't have to be a nice smell, and that would oxygenate my muscles and my brain differently from the normal way that I do it. I would also, before charging up a hill, and then hit the hill, and I'd keep the tip of my tongue on the roof of my mouth. This creates saliva. It like makes your mouth water, and so it keeps me personally hydrated, or at least feeling more hydrated. But also when you expel the breath, you're expelling moisture, and that catches on the tongue and gets recycled back into the body. This is also a great way to, just like the Chinmaya Mudra, you can use it to bring yourself back to yourself, your body checkup. So when your mind starts to wander and get away from you, and you maybe start having your anxieties or your thoughts about what so-and-so said and what so-and-so did, checking that your fingertips are touching can bring you back to your body, bring you back to your mechanics. And it's the same. If I can check in on myself and feel the tip of my tongue touching the roof of my mouth, then I can start going over, okay, is my mudra good? Is my balance good? Speaking of balance, keeping my balance 3 finger widths below my belly button, and then 3 finger widths inside my core, and that's where you're going to have some really good balance. That's where your best balance is going to be. And the more you practice that, the better your balance is going to get. So speaking of Tommie doing very well, and speaking of the gate of power, there was twice where my mind kind of got away from me as far as concentrating on being a pacer. and he caught me. He caught me once, and I was like, okay, take off. Lost focus again as a pacer, and he caught me again. And then I take off, and the third time he caught me, I was very focused on staying ahead of him and not letting him catch up to me. And I looked back to check on him, and he was right behind me. And I was running very silently, and so was he. I didn't hear him breathing. I didn't hear his footfalls. I didn't hear his clothes rustling. And he was right behind me. I said, man, you're like a ninja. And that's what it was like. He was running like a ninja, swiftly and quietly. And that was awesome. So like I said, there was a time when he kind of lost focus himself and wanted to give up, threw himself on the ground and was like, I'm not going to do this. I can't do this. It's too hard. Where's the aid station? You get that a lot in these races where, this is some advice to you. If you ever run one of these, don't look at your watch. Don't ask people how far away it is or how long away it is, because your watch will be wrong. That's just the way it is. Your watch, your Strava will be wrong. Got Jewel here trying to get in on the picture. Don't look at your watch because it will be wrong. Don't ask people how far away it is, because some people they're like in a negative brain space, and so it's farther away, or they're in a positive brain space and it's closer and it's not accurate. And so you get a time limit or a mileage in your head, and then it's not right, and that starts to give you anxiety, and it throws you off. So don't worry about that at all. Just know that you have to keep going, one foot in front of the other, until you get there. So Tommie became discouraged before the Klickitat aid station. I stayed disconnected and ahead of him and just told him that if he were to sleep and eat, he might feel better. Got the Klickitat aid station, and he did feel better. On the way back down, he had realized that his granddaughter was going to show up around a certain time of day the next day, and this gave him some respite from having to hurry, because he decided that he was going to meet his granddaughter near the finish line and then finish the lap around the track to the finish line. And that's what happened, and everything turned out very well in the end. I advised him soon before he decided to make that decision that he's got so much time that this could be like a choose your own adventure book. I used to read those a lot when I was a kid, and maybe you did too. But in these books, you could find yourself in a trap or in a dire situation, but then you have choices that you can make that help get you through to the end. And Tommie had enough to go through and make choices that put him in a trap, put him in a pit, put him in dire situations, and still have choices that would allow him to finish out this story. And in the end, it was a great story, and it was a positive story that I was happy to be part of and blessed to be able to participate in. So thank you, Tommie Silva, for allowing me to help you at the Bigfoot 200. I hope to see you again at other races in the future, if only pacing for me or pacing somebody else. Once again, I'm Coach Brian with Northwest Elite Spirit, the channel you come to train your mind, body, and spirit. This has been Pacing Bigfoot 200 with Tommie Silva and Carlos Castaneda. If you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, make sure to do that now and ring that notification bell to stay up to date on all of my new releases. Again, I'm here to help train you for mind, body, and spirit. So there's always something new coming at you, and it's all tied together. Comment below if you find this content interesting. Of course, give it a like. Share it with like-minded individuals, and as always, practice. Thank you. One other thing that helped me stay very present and very grateful and happy within the race is the awareness of my own death. I could die tomorrow, and so I have to make the best of today. and Tommie could die tomorrow. And so I had to help him make the best of his experience there at Bigfoot 200.